I'm sure you're all feeling the same. So just wanted to put that out there. Again, we're looking to make 2021 a bit stronger. I think December, we're going to really have a meeting that is focused on planning for 2021. So what does that look like? How do you get your mental wellness better? How do you get your physical wellness better? And then we'll schedule out the appropriate sessions for 2021. I do know, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe we are slated to have our co-meeting with HR for February of 2021.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
So that's my 2 cents. And obviously we're open to suggestions on what this group might want to see in 2021. Just email myself or Melissa or even Tony Joy, and we'll put it on our calendar. We want to make this relevant. We want to make it so that we have double-digit attendees on the calls going forward. But again, just a little bit of a bump in the road for 2020. Melissa, anything to add?
I don't think so. Good morning, Melissa Negrin-Wiener, elder law and estate planning attorney with Ganser-Kona Elder Law. And yeah, I totally agree with everything Len said, and trying to keep this group relevant, which is kind of interesting because we're in the middle of this major health crisis and we're the Health and Wellness Committee, but it's really very difficult to get everybody kind of excited or interested in something. It's been tough. It's been really tough. So we're really very open to suggestions and ideas.
Perfect. So with that, let me just hand it over to Tony Joy to give us kind of a little rundown on, actually, sorry, let me take a quick step back. How about we just go around the horn a little bit, 30 seconds, elevator speech, give us who you are, business that you're with, kind of what made you join today's call. Every time I say that, we typically have people who speak for 3 minutes. Really don't want 3 minutes. I'm sure all of you probably will agree that once it passes 30 seconds, people start to fade off and they're thinking about something else. So let's try to keep it to 30 seconds. Make yourself, again, the elevator speech. You're in the elevator with the CEO. What are you going to say? So Len Baldessari, financial advisor with Merrill Lynch. I am helping my clients plan for the future, trying to help them identify both their short-term goals and long-term goals in order to give them the financial freedom that they're looking for. Melissa
Negrin-Wiener, Ganser-Kona Elder Law. We handle everything from basic estate planning, high-end estate planning, Medicaid applications, for home care, for nursing home care, helping Long Island and the boroughs and the city seniors getting the care that they need and learning how to finance that care.
How about we go to Tony Joy?
Sure. Good morning. Tony Joy Kendall. I'm the office manager with the HIA-LI. We are a member organization, the voice of Long Island business, and we are here to advocate for the Long Island Innovation Park at Hop Hog, as well as Long Island business throughout. So thank you. And good
Perfect. Morning. Thank you. Rita?
Hi, good morning. So great to see all of my old friends. I haven't seen you guys in a while. I'm Rita DiStefano. I am the Director of Human Resources Consulting at Portnoy Messenger Pearl. We help out clients all over Long Island and nationally with HR issues that they don't have an HR department. And you can well imagine our phones have been off the hook in the last few months with helping people with this COVID situation. I'm also a member of the board of directors of the HIA-LI. I'm very happy to be part of this HIA Healthcare Committee. I know that Len and Melissa are working very hard to make it a very prominent committee for the organization. Thank you, Len and Melissa. Appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, Rita. PJ?
Hi, I'm PJ Tedeschi. I'm the director of the Tobacco Action Coalition of Long Island. We are one of 22 Advancing Tobacco-Free Communities grants funded by the New York State Department of Health Bureau of Tobacco Control, and we are part of the American Lung Association. And I just want to echo Rita's sentiments for all the work that Melissa and Len have done to reinvigorate this group. I really think the vision you have and everything you've done so far has been great.
Thank
you.
Michelle?
Morning, Michelle Gavad, American Heart Association. I am the Community Impact Director, trying to actually do that, impact the communities for the most vulnerable communities on Long Island, but also to really promote health and wellness. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Alexis?
Morning, my name is Alexis Rogers. I'm the Director of Community Impact Programs for the Association for Mental Health and Wellness. We are a local not-for-profit organization serving a myriad of populations across Suffolk County, particularly around behavioral health. We serve veterans, children, adults. We have lots of different programs. Michelle even mentioned we have pantries. And I particularly work around outreach and community education around mental health.
Perfect. Thank you. Mark?
Hi, my name is Mark Grossman. I'm the public relations consultant for both HIA-LI and also for the Association for Mental Health and Wellness. So I also teach at communications at Suffolk Community College and Nassau Community College. And I'm going to need to actually leave in about 15 minutes. I just wanted to at least check in and see a little bit of this because I have a class that I teach on Zoom. So that starts at 9:15. So I'm going to need to leave a little early. So forgive me on that. But when I saw Mike Stoltz's name on the program, I wanted to at least tune in and hear what he has to say because it's always very interesting.
Thank you, Mark. And I believe we are recording this, right, Tony Joy?
Sorry, I had myself on mute. Yes, that was a yes.
Yeah, so you can always listen to Michael later on, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
We'll send out that link. Okay.
Mark's
Sarah?
listened to me for years. He doesn't have to anymore.
Sarah?
Hi, good morning. My name is Sarah Webb. I am the owner of CPR and Safety Consulting and Training. I am newer to this committee and also to the Hauppauge Industrial Association in general. So I own and operate, I actually train for the CPR for the American Heart Association, as well as all OSHA safety, compliance, anything that a company might need to be able to keep their employees safe. I do forklift training, sexual harassment training. I deal with insurance companies. I do a lot of help with workers' compensation. So really anything the company might need to keep their employees safe, keep them compliant with state and federal regulations.
Perfect. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. And I
Michael?
actually have to go remote in a few minutes. I might turn my video off. I run a South Shore 4-H club and we're doing a cleanup in about 5 minutes down at the beach. So I'll be listening and picking up trash.
Which beach?
Islip Beach.
Okay.
And down by
Thank you for
Seatuck.
doing that.
No problem.
Michael?
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Which mic?
Oh, sorry, Michael Giller?
Go ahead.
Morning, everybody. Michael Giller. My company's called Best Ideas Group. My partner and I are working public company with over 40, 50 million people in a database of people 55 and over to provide various products to them, including various insurance products. My background, life insurance for. And we also are working, we have a program in the medical field to help any doctors, hospitals, or any medical people that have problems collecting all their unpaid receivables from insurance companies. We have a company that is very proficient in collecting the money, no charge. They take a little piece at the end, and eventually they wind up doing the billing. And they're one of the top 10 in the country. And also we are trying to raise some funds for a COVID test, COVID-19 test that tells you whether you had the flu or the virus, and if you still have it, and it takes 60 seconds, saliva test. And it's an extremely important project. So we're trying to raise the funds for that.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Michael Stoltz?
Morning, everybody. You already heard from Alexis, one of our folks who oversees all our community mental health education. I'm the CEO of the Association for Mental Health and Wellness for a little less than 2 more months, and then I'll be retiring.
Congratulations. That's good.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So with that, let me just hand the ball to Tony Joy to give everybody a quick update on the Hot Pocket Industrial Association, kind of where we're at, what 2020 might be looking at, or what steps they're taking to make 2021 happen. So Tony Joy, all yours.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thank you again to Melissa and Len for putting on today's programming. We certainly, health and wellness is certainly important, especially given these times. So again, the HIA-LI, we've actually been in our office since June, being very safe and conscious of our surroundings. But it's very, again, nice to be together and again, hearing from our members. A few things that we've been very actively a part of the Suffolk COVID-19 task force, and just kind of getting those updates. Recently, we collaborated with Northwell Health to help get out the message about they have a medical unit, which they were looking to give flu shots and antibody testing. So we have that. If you're interested, there is on our landing page, there's a link that you can click here to get more information about that, if that's something you're interested. I know as far as the park goes, we do have Island Harvest will be hosting that medical unit. So if you have any employees that would be in the area, just kind of, you have to make a reservation and that sort of thing. So if you have any questions about that or interested, I think Island Harvest is coupling that with kind of bringing food donations too. So kind of going hand in hand there, which is nice. So we were able to help kind of make that connection for them. And that should be this month. So it's coming up shortly. Just some other programs that we have coming up that I wanted to share with you all. I'm just going to share my screen rather quickly just to give you an overview. It's always, I'm a visual person, so I like to have some visuals to go with it. So I'll just keep it this way. So we do have coming up November 17th, we have our New and Perspective member information meeting. So I know a lot of you are members, but if you know of anybody who might be interested in membership, learning about some of the benefits, or if you want to maybe look at some different ways to maximize your membership, please feel free to join us on the 17th at 8:45 to 10. We'll be also honoring our HIA-LI committee co-chairs for all the wonderful things that they've been doing and really just keeping us engaged throughout the year. On Tuesday, November 17th as well, we have a post-election outlook 2021. So we will have Joe Campolo as our moderator. He's the managing partner of Campolo, Minnesota McCormick, and our HIA-LI board chairman, as well as Joseph Song. He's the director of senior U.S. economist from Bank of America Global Research. So give a little bit of an outlook on what it looks like for the coming year. We have on the 18th of November a meeting with John Ledecky, who's a co-owner of the New York Islanders, and Tim Lipowitz, CEO of Oakview Group. So they're talking a little bit about the UBS Arena, which is going to be the new home of the Islanders come the 2021-2022 NHL season. So if you're a Islanders fan or a sports fan, or just want to talk about sports because you're happy it's back, definitely feel free to join us that day. And then one of my favorite programs we have is our Women Leading the Way on November 20th, which is from 9 to 10:30. We have a really dynamic panel this year, which I have featured on the screen for you. Again, talking about all different things: life, work, balance, finding your voice, building and leveraging your network, all different things that that go into being a successful businesswoman. But certainly we also have men that join and attend our program as well. And then lastly, we have a Those Who Make a Difference celebration, where we'll be honoring some of our some specific individuals as far as in relation to that season of giving and what they've done during this COVID pandemic, and how they're helping throughout. So we're really excited about that. And we also have just a quick overview. We do have our 2021 printed member directory benefits available right now. So if you're interested in being in the printed directory or having advertisement in there, that is coming up. It's a lot of our members really love it. It's a really quick, easy way to just kind of scan through and see any services that you may need or are interested in. So so if you have any questions about any of the upcoming events, please feel free to let me know. I'll put my email in the chat section, but we hope that you'll be able to join us. Again, these are all virtual. They're all complimentary, so the more the merrier, and some really great educational programming. So thank you, everyone, and I'll pass it back to Glenn.
Thank you, Tony Joy. Appreciate it. Okay, so real quickly, one of the initiatives that we had for this year was to really start leveraging and sharing everybody's skill set amongst each other. So I know the HIA has a portal where you can post up your presentations, your education seminars, your webinars, whatever you think is relevant to some of the HIA members is available out there. We wanted to take full advantage of that. This recording will go to Tony Joy, and we will put it up on that reserve, if you will, that repertoire of webinars that can be used by the HIA members. So while we don't have as many people as I was hoping to have on this call, certainly understand that this can be shared and will be shared amongst others, especially as we move into 2021 and somebody wants to talk about, mental wellness or heart disease. We can certainly say, hey, we have a pre-recorded session that you might be able to tap into. So keep that in mind. We'll share everybody's contact information as well, because I know when we're live, you get to shake hands, you get to really talk to each other. This environment, not as much. So we'll share everybody's contact information after the call. And now let's get into the meat of the presentation. So as I was talking to Melissa, one of the things that we thought would make sense is Movember. And in speaking with Michael and Michelle, Movember was not necessarily something that they had heard of. So let me just give you kind of an update before I hand it over to them. I actually reached out to Movember US, and they have a whole slew of material that they could share. So I'm going to read to you their action items and kind of just their elevator speech, if you will, to get this started. And then we'll hand it over to Michelle to talk a little bit about heart disease among men. So real quick, Movember is the leading charity dedicated to changing the face of men's health around the world. Our fathers, partners, brothers, and friends are all facing a health crisis that is not being talked about. Men's health is in crisis. Men are dying too young. So Movember wants men to take action, to live happier, healthier, longer lives, and to help by investing in projects and programs in 4 key areas: mental health and suicide prevention, heart disease, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer. When it comes to mental health in the U.S., 3 out of every 4 suicides are by men, and 103 men will take their own life every day. Obviously, with COVID hitting and people having less income and worrying about their families, that's only gotten worse. Each year, more than 175,000 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer, and 1 in 9 men will be diagnosed with that disease in their lifetime. As far as testicular cancer, it's one of the most common deaths of cancer for young men. Sadly, 1 in 20 of them are diagnosed and don't survive. And then from a heart disease is the leading cause of death in the U.S., with more than half of those deaths that's by males. 1 in 5 heart attacks are silent, meaning there are no symptoms. So how can we help change these statistics? We could do it by raising awareness. No man should suffer alone. And that's where Movember comes in, and the whole mustache idea. So for those people who don't typically grow a mustache, by growing a mustache in November, it starts a conversation. People begin to ask you, hey, what's the mustache all about? Or why are you doing that? And you can begin to tell them about, men's health issues and why you're doing it. So that's Movember. I will send out the link, but it's movember.usa is their website that you could go to. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle to just talk a little bit about heart disease among men. Michelle?
Thank you so very much. I'm going to see if I can share my up. Can I share my screen?
Let me give you access real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't realize you weren't. I'm going to make you a. All right, you should have the accessibility now, Michelle.
There it is. Now, where is it? Can you see that?
Yes, it's coming up.
Great. Okay. So, heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women. It's the #1 killer globally of men and women. And we we don't seem to be able to really get a grip on it. Over 840,000 people die a year from heart disease and stroke. 80% of it is preventable. That means that nearly 700,000 people die from a disease that they really can prevent. So the bottom line is what we're going to concentrate on today is prevention and signs and things of heart disease. If you have any questions along the way, please just talk, okay? Because I really would love that, to have an interaction with you. So the risks, 83% of people believe that heart attacks and strokes can be prevented, but aren't motivated to do anything. We call that the behavior gap. Everyone knows that you should be eating fruits and vegetables, they're good for you, but does everyone do it? Everyone knows that we should be having more physical activity, but do we do it? So these are just statistics. 72% of Americans don't consider themselves at risk for heart disease. We did a survey a while ago, and what it showed is that most people think that they're healthy. The bottom line is that they're really not, because they don't know what their numbers are. Does everybody know what their numbers are? Does everybody know what numbers you should know in order for you to be able to determine if you're healthy or not? That's a question. If you have any answer on that, just put it in the chat box. 1 out of every 3 deaths in the United States is caused by heart disease or stroke. And, you know, it's bad enough when people have their first heart attack, 785,000 people, but then they have another. And why do they have another? Because they really do not take care of themselves. So the good news is that heart disease and stroke, as I said, is preventable. 80% of it is modifiable, and by making healthy choices. You guys have all the information. It's all around you. You have the internet available. Do people do it? Nope, they really don't. They don't really take care of it. They don't look at it. They don't want to do it. It's not going to happen to them. Well, the problem is that it does happen. Does everybody know what the signs of strokes are? What stroke is? So, fast, face drooping, you can't raise your arm, your speech, and time. Time is of essence. Bottom line is that if you get to the hospital on time, usually within a window of about 3 hours from your first symptoms, they will give you a drug, TPA, and it will mitigate the results of the stroke. If you don't do anything like that, what you can see is the bottom line is if you know you have high blood pressure, these are the consequences of your high blood pressure. So it affects your whole body. What they talk about with high blood pressure is that it's a silent killer. Most people don't know they have high blood pressure. And I'm going to show you here what your blood pressure should be. So normal is less than 120 over 80. Less than. It used to be 120 over 80. Now it's less than. Elevated is now 120 to 129. And again, less than 80. And here you have your high blood pressure. Does everybody know what their blood pressure is at this point? No?
I do.
Do you? All right, what's your blood pressure?
It's high.
It's high. What do you do
It
about
is.
it?
I'm trying to change my diet. Exercise.
Okay. Are you, how often are you going to be checked? Do you check your blood pressure every day or once a week or what?
Michelle?
Yeah, can you hear me? What happened?
Oh. Len, can you hear us?
Technical difficulties.
I don't know what happened here.
There you go. Now you're back.
All right.
Okay. Len, do you check, how often do you check your blood pressure?
Once every 3 months?
No, no. If you have high blood pressure, the bottom line is that it should be checked consistently. And this way you have you understand where it's at. You have a better understanding of, okay, so it's a little bit high now, but what did I eat? Did I have a little bit too much salt? What did I do to really make it like this? So you really should be checking it, especially if it's high, you should be checking it a little bit more.
And Michelle, is there any way to check it on your own, like at home?
Absolutely. Get a blood pressure cuff.
Okay.
And a lot of insurance companies are paying for them. Get a blood pressure cuff. And they're so easy to use. They're very dependable right now. And again, you'll have a baseline. You'll have an understanding of where you're at. So what we're trying to do is really promote self-monitoring blood pressure for men and women. There's a wealth of information on our website that you would be able to go on there and see where you're fitting, what you can do for that. But if your blood pressure is elevated, I urge you, and I am not a clinician by any means, but I urge you to please check it more consistently than every 3 months. Okay?
I will. Thank you.
Please.
Yes.
I think
Please,
a lot of pharmacies too have
Correct.
cups machines where you can check them too. So if you're popping in there like a CVS or something, you can go in the back and check it.
Correct. Exactly. Thanks, PJ. It's so important to know your numbers. It is just so important. CVS has them. We're starting before COVID. What we had done is we were starting to do it in libraries as well. To meeting people where they are. To really trying to educate people on that. So for you to go, please go get a blood pressure. Now, Len, I'm going to be calling you all the time. There you go. Now I have another kid. Okay.
That's fine. You have another kid.
There you go.
Well, I have to even assume the HSA, so I have the flex spending that's used for
Do
medical
it.
expenses. I'm sure I could
They're
probably
not-
use that to buy the blood pressure
Yeah.
cuff.
They're not that expensive. They're not that expensive at all. At all. Does everybody know when you take your blood pressure how it's supposed to be taken? So when you go to the doctor's office, are you sitting down on the floor with your 2 feet on the ground and your back supported, or you're sitting on a table with your legs dangling, right? How many people get that? Is your
Table
arm
with the legs dangling, yeah.
right? Is your arm resting and supported at the cuff at the mid-chest level? So this is exactly how you're supposed to be sitting. Do they measure it over your clothes? Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Is your bladder empty? You're not supposed to be talking or anything. So I just want to show you this because this I think is so important. This happens if it's not measured accurately. This is what can happen. You can have a reading off by 5 to 50 milligrams of if it's over clothes. If your blood pressure is taken over clothes, how crazy is that? Right?
Now, why do they do that then? Why do they continuously take it the wrong way every single time?
They really shouldn't be. They really shouldn't be. But what we're trying to do is educate people. So we're going into clinics and we're going into providers' offices and saying, look, this is what we want you to do. And we provide them with this poster that's in each office so that people can see, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how it's supposed to be taken. Again, if you're not doing it correctly, you're never going to know really what your numbers are. So it's real important to understand this. Okay? Everybody got that part of it? All right. So everybody know the difference between a cardiac arrest and heart attack?
No.
Okay.
I do.
I know you should, Sarah. Okay, so a cardiac arrest is when your heart is actually stops. It really is. There's really no pulse. You stop breathing. It's an electrical problem. Okay, heart attack is caused by plumbing. It could be caused by a blockage in the heart. It could be caused by a leak. It could be caused by anything of the sort. heart attack, you don't necessarily stop breathing. Matter of fact, you won't stop breathing. You'll have some symptoms, and your heart will be literally attacked. The blood will keep flowing through it. It may have a clot, it may be leaking, but the blood's going to still be going through it, and your heart's going to be pumping. When you go into cardiac arrest, you no longer have that. And that's where, and Sarah will tell you, where CPR really comes into being. So what we can do eventually down the road with HIA, if you'd like, we can have a hands-only CPR demonstration so that people can see how to do it. I just did it the other day for KPMG. 40 people got on a call and we did a hands-only CPR lesson. It is important to know what to do in case of an emergency. So important. It saves lives. Right, Sarah? I mean, it saves.
Absolutely. Yeah, my dad lives over at Oak Beach, which is a very remote community on the Barrier Beach Islands, and they actually, one of their the homeowners over there purchased an AED and they donated it to the community center, which is where now it is. And I did sessions of hands-only CPR for them a couple of weeks ago. And it's a great tool, obviously, to have. Not everybody has an AED, but
Right.
we went over the warning signs and what to do in the first few minutes, and
Right.
making sure
Exactly.
everybody knew that emergency response plan for their own own household, as well as just work too.
Exactly. And Sarah, for the what is the statistic in terms of having to start CPR if a person goes into cardiac arrest?
Every 60 seconds, their chance of survival goes down 10%. 8 to 10% is, I think, what the latest stat is. So within 10 minutes, if there's no AED, there's very little chance of survival at that point.
However, hands-only CPR works. So what's the difference between hands-only and breaths? The bottom line is that what the American Heart Association found through research is that people weren't doing CPR because they didn't want to give breaths, especially during when the AIDS pandemic was starting when AIDS became very prevalent in the 90s. People stopped doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I'm sorry? They stopped doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. What they found is that actually doing hands-only, by actually doing those compressions, works incredibly well. So what you're actually doing is you're the pump of the heart then. You're using your hands to pump that heart, to get that blood flowing. And the increasing survival rates went up tremendously. So that's something that we could probably wind up doing. I think that'll be a good thing to do. Okay, so we know what we have to do during those cases. Heart attack, don't wait for your second one. So these are the things that you need to do to prevent a second heart attack. Take your medications, follow up with your doctor, participate in cardiac rehab, manage your risk factors, and get support. Prevention is so important. As I said before, we have such a behavior gap. We know what we have to do, but it's never going to happen to us. We have to really start thinking about, yeah, you know what? It can happen to us. And the bottom line is, since COVID, I think everyone should be very, very, very mindful of how vulnerable we are and how vulnerable our most vulnerable people are. And we need to really take care of ourselves. We are a very unhealthy society, extremely unhealthy. We don't walk as much as we should. We don't eat what we should. And what we do eat, we eat too much of it. So again, the American Heart Association, heart.org, has a tremendous amount of information on that. AFib also is something else for you to take a look at. It's when your heart is not beating properly. Bottom line, be an advocate for yourself. You're not feeling well, your heart feels a little funny, you feel a little dizzy, whatever. Go to the doctor. You are your best advocate. Okay? Cardiovascular disease causes businesses a tremendous amount of money. Again, 80% modifiable. 80% modifiable. Our vets are suffering tremendously from heart disease. it's just, it amazes me when you talk to people, the bottom line is that you'll ask them, what is the major cause of death? And they'll always say cancer, always. And heart disease kills many more people. And I hate to say, oh, we're the winner, but we are the winner. 88, it's tremendous. I think it's the next 6 top causes of death from cancer does not combine to make the amount of people dying of heart disease. These are signs of heart attack. For a man, it's a little bit different. For a woman, they're a little bit less extreme than a man. A man will definitely usually he'll get the nausea or the vomiting, his jaw, his shoulder will hurt. It'll be a squeezing, tremendous pain and shortness of breath. A woman can sometimes just feel very exhausted, but we're not talking about women today. We're talking about men, and the reason why men have more heart attacks is because they're married to women. Or whatever. That's the bottom line. There you go. Okay, so here also is something to improve your cardiovascular health. Again, as I said before, prevention is the most important thing. Don't smoke, eat a healthy diet, physical activity, know what your BMI is, know what your blood pressure is. Does everybody know what cholesterol should be, what your cholesterol should be? Combined, it should be under 200. LDL is the lousy cholesterol. That should be under 100. Your HDL, your happy cholesterol, should be over 40. Okay, so combined, they should be under 200. And your glucose, how's your blood sugar? How are you doing with that? Know what that is.
Michelle, can I say
Sure.
one quick thing?
Sure.
I know you mentioned going to the doctors and making sure you go to your cardiologist, your primary care. A lot of people forget how important the dentist is.
Oh my God, yes.
In relating to heart attacks, as far as the plaque buildup, travels and causes, heart attacks too. So a lot of people don't realize that that's just as important to get to the dentist twice a year for that reason.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Oral health is so important, and it kind of like it's kind of like it gives you an idea of what your general health is. If you have good gum health, etc., and good oral health, you kind of know how you are. Again, know your body. People say, "Oh, it was sudden." Well, you know what? Maybe it was sudden, but when you look back, it's like, well, I wasn't feeling that great that day. Maybe that was it. Be mindful of your body. Be mindful of how you're feeling. The American Heart Association presently has a thing now. It's called I'm not speaking well this morning. Don't die of doubt. And that is, don't wait. Don't wait to go to the hospital, especially during COVID now. People were so afraid to go to the hospital if they had any kind of symptoms of anything. Don't die of doubt. If you're feeling it, check it out. Make sure that you know that you are your healthiest you can be and take care of yourself. In terms of employers, and HIA is so big with this, we do have a workplace health solution. It is a online program that's set up for employers to give to their employees. If anyone wants any information on this, please let me know. We can very easily be in touch and give it to you. There can be screenings, etc., and an opportunity to also be recognized by the American Heart Association. But like I said, the two most important things for you to understand is know yourself. Be an advocate for yourself. Understand what you're feeling, understand what the signs and symptoms are, and act fast. Time is of essence in everything that you do. And there you go.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. Oh, I think
Yes, Michael.
I want to ask you a question. I had a mini stroke about 8 years ago, and my arm didn't move, and I went right away to St. Charles Hospital. I was there 2 days. And So I have hypertension, and I take my blood pressure and weigh myself every day. They measure your pulse. Okay, you didn't mention about the pulse. And I think that's supposed to be around 60. I'm not sure. But sometimes my mistake, like I just read here about exercise, I do some exercise at home every day, and I do it before I do my blood pressure. So I probably shouldn't do that. So I try to walk, when the weather's not too bad. But I find sometimes I might take if I don't like the reading, what if it's low, like under 100 sometimes, or 90 something. So if I don't like it, I'll take it a couple minutes later till I get something I like. So
That's a good idea, but that is a good idea.
all right, so why would it vary? Sometimes it could be higher and lower from a couple of minutes later. I don't understand.
I am not a clinician. I am not a clinician. That's something to ask your doctor. If it's consistently like that and irregular, I would definitely talk to your doctor about it.
It's also good to take lab tests. I'm going Friday. I go twice a year to take
Right.
tests, and I know how to read the results and everything. So I like to get it before I go to the doctor.
But I would discuss that with your doctor. Like I said, I am not a clinician, but there's variables. I mean, you could be, depending on what you might have eaten, depending on the exercise that you got.
I'm in a very low salt diet.
It could be anything. Maybe that day you needed more salt. You just don't know. But I just really think that if you have any questions, you need to talk to your doctor.
I also think your mental health, your mental health.
Oh my God. And Mike's going to talk about that. Stress plays such a tremendous role in all of this. When we talk about mind, body, and soul, it's all connected.
Definitely.
Everything is connected. We are all connected, and our whole being is all connected. So like I said, you have to be mindful of how you are feeling. No one else is going to tell you how you feel. You have to be your best advocate.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Michelle.
Very true.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And will it be possible, maybe, I don't know if you could just share that PowerPoint so that maybe we can send it out to everyone. Perfect. Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Michael Stoltz, who is the CEO of the Association for Mental Health and Wellness, to talk a little bit more about the mental health of taking care of yourself. So, Michael.
Morning, everybody. And Michelle, that was excellent. And I couldn't agree with you more about the kind of relationship between, body and mind. And talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to do a PowerPoint. I'm going to just really hit some kind of top of the tree type topics about kind of mental health in the world of COVID. Len asked me to hit a couple of issues related to Movember and men. So I'm going to ask my colleague Alexis, if you would, in the chat box, if you could put your contact information, Alexis, and our website. So particularly, and I talked about this on a Facebook Live I did with Terry on Friday, that still is available to you. We talked about some of the services that we do that are particularly pertinent right now during COVID, when our workforce is feeling so much stress. We are feeling stress. Our role, kind of our roles and our daily activities have changed in so many different ways right now. So we are able to do what's a couple of levels of community mental health education. One is called Mental Health 101. And a second is called Mental Health First Aid. Mental Health 101 is about an hour and 15 minutes of kind of real fundamentals about what mental health is versus mental illness, kind of the whole scale and spectrum of being well to unwell. So it's to be able to bring in the right language, kind of some of the basics about kind of what are some warning signs when you, your loved one, your employee are struggling, all the way to, oops, I'm getting some feedback here, all the way to, kind of what wellness looks like. And so it's an introduction to some basic concepts. So Alexis will put her contact information in the box. Mental health first aid is a full day presentation, and particularly if you're in environments, whether your work environments or your your volunteer and community activities where you might be in contact with people who are experiencing some significant distress. Mental health first aid, much like physical health first aid, and CPR in your world, Michelle, there are some specific steps on intervening, engaging and intervening with people who have some specific kinds of distress that they're experiencing. So how to engage people, how to get people to help, and how to know what the right kind of help is about. So that's a nationally or actually an internationally certified course. It's about 6.5 hours now online. They're targeted toward if you're around adults, if you're around kids. We've been doing this with the veterans community because there's a module right around veterans. We've been training police and law enforcement and public safety about recognizing signs of emotional and mental health distress and how to properly and effectively intervene with people and to move people along. So let me give you just a few kind of basics here. And as I said, if you would like us to do a presentation, unfortunately, these are not free. We do have kind of a fee for service stuff. Unfortunately, government is not giving us much money as we used to be able to do the kind of free services that we did in the past. But going toward Len's point about Movember, there are some things about men that are unique and actually are unique and stressed in this time. Len mentioned from the Movember website about suicide and suicide risk. And yes, while women tend to attempt suicide about 3 times as frequently as men, men tend to be tend to complete suicide. We don't like to use the word successful suicide anymore because that kind of gives the sense of like it's a good thing. So so men tend to complete suicide. And why do you think that would be? Men tend to use more lethal means than women tend to use. The higher risk group right now is for men between the ages of 40 and 55, and that is a higher risk group. And sometimes it dovetails with all sorts of reasons. Some of the things that Michelle talked about with respect to coming to terms with the fallibility of our bodies. We're not as capable and as we used to be. Maybe faced with diagnoses, maybe faced with distresses, change of life, all those kinds of things. That time of life seems to be for men where there's an association of risk factors. So talked about there's this kind of spectrum of well to unwell, and just to give you a sense of kind of prevalence on this, and let me do a caveat on this. With respect to COVID, we kind of mental health and the mental health workforce are now really kind of understood as the second line of defense. That we are the second responders. The first responders being responding to the physical illness and the physical health conditions there. But beyond that, under COVID particularly, we're realizing that mental health is what's getting in the way sometimes for people to be able to feel like we're productive in our roles and as a employee or an employer, our roles as a father, a spouse, a partner, our roles in our community. All those have been shook up. So I've kind of been saying that if you don't know, what depression or anxiety felt like before COVID, most people probably do have a good understanding of what anxiety feels like, what depression feels like, what it feels like to be isolated. So this has absolutely been a disease, that in this pandemic that has been kind of a great educator about what mental health is. In general, about 19% of our population has anxiety disorders within the past year. About a little over 7% have had a major depressive episode. About 8% have had substance use disorder, and a little over almost 4% people have had a combination of a substance use disorder and a mental health disorder, because they often occur in tandem. So we generally say that at any one time, about 1 in 4 people are suffering from some kind of serious mental health disturbance. That doesn't necessarily mean psychosis or something that warrants police intervention, but they're experiencing, by and large, most mental health distress is what takes people away from other people to feel isolated, removed, alone. Most mental health distress is along those kinds of lines. And we also can kind of say almost 1 in 3 families are affected by somebody with a pretty significant and serious mental health kind of distress. So let me get to a little bit of a kind of audience question here. When people feel mental health distress, what do you think? And you can unmute yourself and just kind of shout out some answers. How long do you think it is between the time that people tend to experience mental health distress and when they actually will disclose it and discuss it with, for example, your physician, or let alone seeking mental health kind of care? What's the kind of range of time, that you think between onset of mental health distress and when people actually start to do something about it?
6 months.
Yeah, I'd say like
6 months.
I'd say 9.
9 months?
Year.
Just long enough to have a baby, right?
I would say they don't recognize it. I know that if they're depressed, they may not recognize they have mental illness. They might have been living with it for a very long time, so they never go to a doctor. I would think it's unrecognizable to some people.
True. So the period of time when people feel that level of distress to getting help, you want to guess, Rita?
I'm sorry, what did you?
So what do you estimate would be that period of time, that gap in time when people would get?
I think that problems probably start in teenage years when some things might set in that are a result of your childhood, and then it manifests itself into adulthood. And I'm not sure that a lot of people recognize the fact that they need help. Other people around them might see it, but I'm not sure there's a window there that they go for help. I'm not sure.
Actually, Rita, you could actually teach the course here, because it really is about 10 years from the time that people experience serious mental health distress. So mental health is about thinking, it's about feeling, and it's about behavior, right? We now kind of capture all mental health stuff in this behavioral health world, because the way we think, the way we feel affects the way that we behave, the way we perform our different roles. So almost 10 years. So that's even longer, right, Michelle, than, when people are feeling, getting results from, a health test, a blood test, a blood pressure test, 10 years. Why do you think that is, that people wait so darn long to talk about and disclose that they're experiencing mental health distress?
They don't know it.
They don't know.
We don't talk about it enough.
Why don't people talk about it?
Stigma.
We don't recognize
Stigma
it.
attached to it.
Yeah. So Len,
They're in denial. They're in
yeah.
denial.
So Len and Michael, since this is Movember and we're talking about men, why won't men talk about anxiety or depression?
Shame.
Shame. Yeah.
Shame.
Why?
I would talk about it. Which is the wrong answer?
No, it's a great answer.
They don't talk to each other. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and seen a table of women talking at lunch? They don't stop. If you go to a restaurant and watch a table of men, all they do is eat and look at each other. They don't talk to each other. My opinion, my personal opinion, they don't have the same relationships.
Go ahead, Mike.
I would discuss this with my wife.
It's a general opinion.
Go ahead, Mike.
I would talk about this with my wife or my sons.
Yeah.
I have no problem with any of that.
Things have started to change in a positive direction, but historically, men will talk to each other. We talk. I play golf once a week. We talk about all sorts of stuff. Feelings may not be the first thing we talk about.
That's what I was trying to say.
I'll bet you, kind of women gathering around for lunch, you might talk about feelings and opinions and, thoughts and worries and concerns, Men don't necessarily do that so readily. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm saying maybe that's the reason people get sick too, because they're afraid to show their emotions and their feelings, especially a lot of men.
Yeah.
And they think it's very not macho, too macho to show your feelings, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You have to be who you are and not, be able to share things with people and not be afraid what other people think. It's not important anyway.
So you can all remember when this, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus,
Right.
that book came out probably a generation
John Gray,
ago.
I happened to went to a seminar and I had lunch with him. I met him.
Yeah. He's a fascinating guy. So if you
I
ever
met
get
his
a
ex-wife,
chance.
Phyllis D'Angelo, whatever, met her also, Beverly D'Angelo. Whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
they were both at the same seminar, but they were ex-spouses.
Well, I think things have started to change, that, women, especially as women are advancing in the workplace, taking on more responsibility, are more frequently breadwinners, the kind of the major income producers in families. Men are become more comfortable about expressing feelings, sitting with emotions. I think things are starting to change. Right, and Alexis, good point. I think our culture, our society is gradually starting to change. So hopefully, men are gradually learning to feel comfortable to sit with feelings and to listen. I'll say to you that during COVID, one of the things that's become really clear is, kind of relationship issues. As people are more isolated, as couples and families are more isolated, the distress on relationships is becoming higher. There is a tick up in domestic violence. There's a tick up in alcohol and substance abuse. There's a tick up also in divorce and separations and divorce. I know I have a private practice. Alexis also runs our helpline. We do get calls looking for relationship help, probably at a little higher level than we have before. And it all does come back to kind of, yes, this being comfortable to just share and discuss really hard kinds of issues, hard worries that COVID is presenting for all of us, insecurity, and be able to feel that sense of trust, to be able to discuss stuff. So we're kind of moving a little away from the concept of mental illnesses to realizing that mental health here is kind of all of our concern. This is a part of all of our lives, and how we've been acculturated to be able to talk about thoughts and feelings and mood and distress. And as you move further to up the spectrum to real serious distress, is very much about kind of how we've been taught, how we've been acculturated. One quick last story, of course, before the HIA, before the computer, kind of industry on Long Island, before the defense industry on Long Island, before we were potato farms and such, what was the #1 industry on Long Island?
Was it mental health hospital?
Mental institutions.
Yeah, there were 5 major psychiatric
Kings
institutions.
Park, Pilgrim State, a lot of them.
Central Islip, Northport VA, which was home to the lobotomies, right?
I had one near me
Pilgrim,
in
which
Dix
was-
Hills, Pilgrim State, yeah.
Yeah, and Edgewood over by Dix Hills off of
Yep.
Comac Road. So
Right.
there were 5 major psychiatric centers. So we
Wow.
also, with that, meant what? Well, we're home to stigma. We're home to where, oh my goodness, if you're bad or you misbehave, we're going to have the people with the white coats take you over to the state hospital. So that stigma, particularly in our area, has been high. People who have been, I've done a few classes, taught a few classes, and at one class at St. Joseph's, had a mature student body, and several talked about how their parents would talk to them about, and threaten them to, if you misbehave, I'm bringing you over to Kings Park or Pilgrim Strait or Central Islip. So that concept of, boy, better not say anything, right? Because who knows what can happen to you is deeply ingrained. Michael, go ahead.
I think how you manage your mental health could determine how you manage your physical health.
Yeah.
First of all, if you don't care enough about yourself, you're going to let yourself go. You got to care about life, and you got to care about yourself and other people in your life, and take care of yourself. That's,
Attitude is big. So let me just,
attitude is the best.
in our
Most important.
time remaining, let me just to introduce one kind of major concept that I think we've learned in COVID, and as you just talk with employees and colleagues and friends and such, that you want to really bring in. I think that the greatest opportunity COVID has presented us in political instability. This is election day. There's a lot of anxiety there too. All the racial injustice kinds of issues have raised our level of anxiety, but also presented us as a society and as a culture with an incredible gift of an opportunity for us to learn and promote the concept of resilience. The reality is, as we teach our kids and our grandkids, as we look into the future, there's a lot of worries and such that we all have, and many of them have. And if we can give a gift of helping people to go, well, how do we deal with that distress? Because it's not necessarily turning for medication or looking for a hospital or all those kinds of things. It's about developing what we call kind of your own wellness toolbox. Doing, as Michael was talking about, things that we have to do not only when we're triggered and we're feeling anxious or we're feeling depressed, but things that we could do daily to be able to help us to feel good. So the growth, the governor set up, as there was a hotline around COVID, and COVID awareness associated with that was a mental health helpline to help people to connect. And they rolled out free services, supports in terms of mindfulness and meditation, and to help people to develop tools and association. That was really the right way to kind of roll out a crisis responses. Not only is there resources, but here's some things that you can think about doing to take charge of your self-care. So what are some of the other things that everybody does here, especially in COVID, or maybe even before that, around your own self-care and to be able to kind of manage your own, level of distress and kind of support a higher level of wellness? What are some of the things that everybody does here?
I think for me, it's been important for the team of people that I manage to let them know that I need that time too, and to encourage them to take it. It's not just about team meetings, about the work that needs to be done, but there's so much going on around us. And I noticed when I was talking about it, when you're talking about trauma-informed leadership kind of skills, that when I was more like, yeah, we're having a hard time and just trying to move past it. But then when I really started talking a little bit more about the hard time I was having, they were able to start. So we would start figuring out how that impacted work and how they had the time they needed. Because, so many things going on at home. You have kids at home. Do you have parents at home? Do you have, what kind of issues are going on there besides everything else? It's not just work. Like sometimes working from home is a blessing, but sometimes all your worlds are colliding. And how do you manage that besides all the stress? So the more open I started to be about that, we started talking about tips and tools. And I think that really helped all of us, and sometimes it was just a whole meeting developed to that, which was fine because nothing was going to get done. And if we didn't have that conversation.
Yeah, I think people are struggling, employers particularly. We employ about 200 people, and we have a lot of people who are parents, and that, kind of how our workplace responds to this. And PJ, you're exactly right, to be able to make sure that people have opportunity to voice kind of the stress. And then as an employer or a colleague or a supervisor, you have the ability to be able to think about problem solving, be able to stretch kind of the area in which people can start to think about how they can take care of themselves and balance all these different kinds of issues and different concerns, and be able to still be productive. So the whole workplace piece, we could spend an hour or two about talk. So I'd like to hear about also what else do people do to stay well?
I can add something to that is, you have to think about what things make you feel, I guess, like unhappy. Like I know a lot of people talk about the effects of social media. I was never a social media person. Now, because I run my business full time, I've had to go on and promote and do sorts of, a lot of postings and stuff. And I'm part of some of the school districts, groups on Facebook, and just people are so nasty. And, people get addicted to reading that stuff, and then it actually raises their own anxiety or it raises their own blood pressure. And I think knowing what those triggers are and knowing to stay away from them
Yep.
is really key. And then I talk to my kids about that, and I talk about it in, as often as I can, is just doing the things that make you feel good, staying around people that make you feel good and positive, and kind of steering away from any situation that's negative and, brings you down as a person.
That's great. So in that whole topic of resilience is also understanding, I think another word that's come into our lexicon, Sarah, you put it really well, is about triggers. What are those things that a part of our day and a part of our routine or our week that really make us feel lousy, and how we can kind of mitigate those? Michael?
I think a day like today and tonight and tomorrow, whatever, would increase a lot of people's anxieties. Today is an extremely important time in our country, and tonight, next couple of days, until they know the results of this election. I think that affects people greatly. Our personal concern is that no matter who wins, the other half of the country is not going to be happy. So I'm concerned about that personally. I think the topic you spoke about today, this webinar, is very good. I think it's more important to get this out to more people than it is some of the things about why you go back to work or why all this. I think this is very important, personally.
Well, as I said, we're happy to do these kind of workshops. The Mental Health 101. Alexis is a very talented presenter, by the way. I tell her that outside of here too, just so that you know. I'm not just doing it because she's on here. She's a very talented presenter, and we have some other folks. We also have people on staff who could do workshops in Spanish, and have a good level of knowledge and understanding of different Hispanic cultures, and and of course, culture is a very important part of this kind of resilience and self-care, because different families, different cultures have different ways of speaking about emotions and thoughts and feelings, but also different mechanisms and resources available for self-care.
I'd like to get information out. We're marketing different services to 50, well, let's say 40, 50 million people over 55, including veterans, helping veterans and so forth. And I'd love to figure out a way to get some of your information out.
That'd be great. So in your chat box, Michael, is Alexis's contact information.
Yeah, I'll put mine in too, if you like.
Perfect. That'd be great. So maybe you guys can chat. But we do a lot of work with the veterans community. We run a men's homeless shelter. We have outreach teams of veterans finding veterans who are homeless and engaging them.
This is nationwide throughout the country.
Yep. And we're working actually with to try to, we have a veteran peer support project that is statewide. We work with other teams around the state. We train veterans to help veterans who are experiencing post-service transition kinds of issues. So any other questions, thoughts?
Yeah, for me, Michael, it's just a synonym, right? It's mindset. My mindset and making sure that I'm taking the time I need to take for my own health. I had opened up the call with the fact that this has been a struggle for me. I didn't accept the fact that I was working from home for so long, and the days would just blend into each other. I wouldn't shut down from the computer. I would just keep on working. You couldn't differentiate one from the other. So I've taken some time to say, okay, by 5 o'clock, that's it. I'm shutting down, finding something else to do, because otherwise you just,
Look, I think in this stress, if you could take away one little simple exercise for yourself, it's take a position like Michelle talked about for when you get your blood pressure test. Get your feet on the floor, get yourself relaxed, put your hand, unbuckle your hands, put your hands across your legs, and just breathe. And just find ways to be able to, you take a deep breath, like to a 5 or a 10 count through your nose, and you let it out slowly through your mouth.
Like meditating.
Well, it's even it's a basic of meditation. It's just breathing that helps to kind of get oxygen into your system. So, and to be able to kind of get in the moment of where you're at and to release kind of all the worries. And we're finding there's a huge biological and psychological connection to just being able to breathe. And if you can build on that and get into more of the meditation kinds of tools, that's a really big deal. So I know for a whole lot of workplaces, we did too, first thing in the morning is morning meditation. And we do that for our staff Actually, Alexis was leading a group. We've also brought in others. Our statewide association has as for all under its trade association to offer morning meditation for kind of all its member agencies, just to be able to take 15 or 20 minutes and get kind of right for the day, so that you can kind of be focused on your to-do sheet or all your schedule or the things that's there. I know all of you are probably just like me, this switch to virtual stuff has doubled my volume of meetings and conversations because there's no downtime. I can't walk around my office all the day because there's not anybody there when I go there. I don't drive to meetings anymore and enjoy listening to whatever I listen. I go right one meeting to the next, and by the end of the day, I've got a million voices in my head. So this is a time, as I said, is a great opportunity to try to take on some stress management kinds of tools, a wellness toolbox than ever before. Michael, go ahead.
When COVID is over, I would strongly recommend people to look into self-development courses like courses when I was like 66. I was older than most of the people. From T. Harv Eker, I read his book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Just like Anthony Robbins, they challenge you and you do so many things. I climbed the trapeze. I did all kinds of things out of my comfort zone I never would have thought I would do. And I recommend that to have that experience for everybody. Get out of your comfort zone. Do things that you don't normally do. Challenge yourself.
I'm a Stephen Covey guy, and that it's been a big part of kind of, I've been to a lot of the advanced workshops and stuff and helped to frame, and as kind of Andrew Carnegie said, you put your worries into nice, neat containers, and to be able to not feel like you're taking care of all sorts of things, and then you have some watchwords. Sarah, we're moving to.
Mike, I just, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to say.
No, I just have a question. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead, Sarah, you go.
So I just have a question, Mike, on the help that you're offering or giving to veterans. How are you reaching the veterans that may be either homeless or living in housing that, may not have access to telehealth and getting to their appointments and things, and they don't know how to, we have a couple, in my town that we see all the time, and I don't know what their living situation is. I don't know if they're getting their medications, if they need them, or counseling. And, is there a good way to be able to help them without, just easily, I guess?
So we have, I'll just say this. So the concept of homeless veterans, we've made incredible progress here on Long Island, and particularly in Suffolk County, which has been home to more veterans than any other county in New York. And it's kind of the third leading kind of resident geographic area for veterans. So we've made huge progress. We do have a homeless team that if you think somebody's homeless, in the woods, we're over at a number of the hot spots over at Coram. There's a bus area around the railroad stations. There are some hot spots that homeless people congregate, and our veterans team is kind of still, even in COVID, we're still in these places to find people. If you're concerned about people in particular, the helpline that Alexis put on the chat screen is still the central entry point into all of our services. We're happy to respond and send people places. There is more resources. We're actually opening 3 houses for veterans in the next 3 weeks. And in concert with a number of other agencies, we've made huge progress on veterans homelessness.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, I just want to jump in, and we got 2 minutes left, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. There's a lot of great information here. Michael, thank you so much for all of that. Quick story from my vantage point, as I was trying to reset myself, the breathing technique certainly is very helpful. LeBron James actually does it on the sideline. You see him do it during very, very tough games. So I have an alarm set on my phone every 2 hours. It's stop and breathe. Just stop and breathe. So that's great advice. Michelle, I'm sorry I got cut off before. Thank you for your repeats. I am actually going to run out right after this and buy myself blood pressure cuff because I certainly need to do that.
As I mentioned earlier, we are going to post this up on the HIA website. I'll talk with Tony Joy about how we can get this information out there. I thank you both. I thank everybody for attending. And Michael, we might even tap into you or your team, Alexis, perhaps come 2021, as we're really talking about executing those techniques for better mental wellness.
I'd like to say one more thing if I could. Sorry. Mike, you mentioned about retiring. I'm 80 years old. I never plan to ever retire, ever. I think it's good to use your brain. Maybe you do a different business or do something else, unless you have a lot of hobbies. But I personally, when I die, I'll die working. I mean, I love working. I know other people my age and older than me working too, not the oldest.
I appreciate that. I'm absolutely in the same place. I'll be retiring from as my role with MHAW, but I'm going to continue to work, but just not this hard. Working 24/7 is a little more than I want to be able to do. And there's great people like Alexis to take my place, so it's good.
Fantastic.
Good luck to you, Mike.
Yes, good luck. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you, everybody, for joining the call, and we'll speak to you in December.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, everybody.
Melissa,
Yeah.
Michelle. Bye-bye.